And welcome to Who Dares Rolls. I'm your host, Mike B. This is the thing I just said, Who Dares Rolls. You've said it twice. Say it twice, I mean it. This is a mini sort of review thing for After Us from Hatchet Board Games UK. That's what the word I want to say. It's actually got another publisher on it, but Hatchet Games did this in the UK. Catch Up Games is the thing. It's designed by Florian Sirio and Vincent Dutray did the art. I love Vincent Dutray and his art. I love Vincent. Sorry, Vincent. Well, I do love you. You're a very talented man, I'm sure. Very handsome as well. But yeah, I love his art. He did Lewis and Clark is one that comes to mind. That was when I think I first noticed his wonderful kind of style. It reminds me a bit of Colin McNeil, I think, is a 2000 AD artist. It's got that same sort of that cartoony vibe, but it's a nice, it's a good look. But anyway, I digress and start foaming in adoration of that. After Us. So what we get here, and I picked this up at the UK Games Expo, I think it is now or thereabouts on wider release, so you can probably pick it up about now. It is a engine buildery type game. As we've not already surmised, we quite like this sort of stuff. Theme behind this one, there is a tenuous theme. It kind of works if you want to go over it. You are apes, and it kind of drew me in originally. Post-apocalyptic game, you are the last few tribes of apes, Planet of the Apes, think essentially, gathering together, building your ape powers to become the most powerful ape tribe and dominance over whatever's left, the smouldering remnants of the nuclear holocaust or Brexit or something. Real simple game, really, actually, but I like a couple of little innovative things it does. So I will get a deck of cards out. What it is you are doing, you are engine building again, essentially, and a spot of deck building. You're doing it by starting off of a hand of cards, all the same monkeys here. Here they are. There's these lovely monkeys. And what you're doing with these, you draw 4 of them that start the round, and you're connecting them up. And you can see that, but they connect. Any completed box with complete border all the way around it will activate on your turn, and they activate from the top row down to the middle, down to the last. Usually the top row is would nearly always resource generating, and then the rows below in the basic monkeys are usually spending a resource to get victory points, sometimes giving you batteries, which also could be another resource that could be used for doing stuff. But you'll have 4 of these out, they run, everyone does it simultaneously. And then in the next round, you use the resources you've gained to buy cards from a deck, which is on a board in front of you, of various monkeys. There's mandarins, I think they are. They give you victory points, and they come in the cost 6 or cost 3, and they use the blue resource. I should maybe hold this up, really. So the decks of cards will sit here. So these are the higher tier ones of these are lower tier, these are the costs of them. The orangutans, and they mainly generate victory points. The orangutans mainly generate batteries, which can be used on orangutan cards to gain stuff, points, or other resources, or do other stuff. The gorillas, they do rage. Rage allows you to trash cards out of your row during the game. After you've got 5 rage, you can trash a card off. And when you trash a card off, they have a rage bonus in the top left corner. When you beat that monkey to death, savagely murder it and fudge it to death, you'll then gain that resource for doing it. And again, they all come in 2 different flavors. These are the resources you're using to buy them. And at the very end of the stack, we get the chimps. Now, the chimps are a bit different. They allow you to redo a filled box on your thing. So anything you can do once, you can redo stuff. Theirs will nearly always give you spend a resource to reactivate something else you've already done. And they can be bought with any of the resources as long as you buy it in a set of, so 3 oranges or 3 greys or blues, and they're mean stuff. I think they're seeds, fruit and flowers, I think they are. So that's what you're buying these cards. Every time you buy one of these cards, they go straight slap down on whatever's left of your deck. So you play out 4 cards, you activate it, blah, 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 gain all the resources. Everyone's doing that all simultaneously. Then you buy a card. When you get to the card buy stage, you also have a bunch of these tokens. There's 4 of them, in fact, all representing one of the different chimps. And you flip them over either for orangutans to get batteries, for the mandarins to get victory points, the gorillas will give you rage, chimps will allow you to redo another thing, and so on. You could also, at this point in time, if you want to, spend 2 of any identical resource to copy your neighbour's special ability they've done. So I might play batteries, maybe Robbie plays victory points. I can spend 2 resources if I want those 2 victory points. game plays basically, once someone hits 70 VP, I think it is tracked on the board, 80 VP. Once you hit 80 VP, the game ends pretty much instantaneously, and it whips round fairly fast. You also, and I haven't mentioned it, is there's 3 of these, there's loads of these, but you get essentially 3 of these tokens out every game as well, and they usually allow you to convert batteries into something. In fact, they all allow you to do batteries into something. That's the stage you can do it, how many batteries it costs, and what you're doing. Either usually buying cards, drawing more cards, or turning stuff into victory points. Component-wise, number one, I love it because it's covered in Vincent's art. You get all different boards for all the different 8 factions, which are kind of cool. That's a nice little touch. As I say, it's his arts or whatever that, so they're all nice. The cards themselves, actually, I like the cards. I think the only thing I'll say is there's only 2 different illustrations on each of the different. So the orangutans have got them, but then it makes it clearer. You're not really looking at the art as such. But yeah, so there's the top tier and there's the middle tier there. And again, as you can see a little bit of difference of all the extra stuff you get on those cards. So yeah, you get the chimps, orangutans, mandarins, all the good stuff. I like the orangutans. I like the gorillas. Yeah, they're kind of cool. And that's pretty much the game, if I'm honest with you. It whips around, and you get a reference card, nice reference card that gives you iconography on there. Again, a game that the iconography is relatively quick to get hold of, and that's the round structure there. And that tells you if you have that sat in front of you, you pretty much can't go wrong. I like what it's doing. But I can see Jamie's not a massive fan of it, and I think Ben is either. And I understand their reservations, and it's mainly based around the fact that you're all doing all this stuff at once. So number one, it requires trust in the people around the table that they're not being a bit naughty. And if you're going to do that, then so be it. But it's a bit of a douchey thing to do. And you know what? If you win by cheating, well done you, my fucking hero. Anyway, so it does require that. But also, you're all it's like a solitaire game. You essentially do your engine, do your cards, generate your stuff, and then you got a typical round game of this is everyone does the cards, shuffles their stuff like this, and then they're ready, and then you pick your monkey, you're ready to go. If Bob's playing, he's probably then already bought a monkey before Robbie has finished generating his resources and spending them and doing what he needs to do, but where eventually you'll catch up, I think, unless Bob's just carried on and is now drawing new cards. That does happen. But anyway, you have the round, do the cards, do the engine thing, you spend the resources, then everyone then turns the flips over the things, you do that, then you buy some cards, they go on top of your deck, you rinse, repeat, and it keeps chunneling round until literally someone hits that victory point. There is very little, if any, player interaction in this. In fact, there is barely minimal. The only real time there's any player action is when you've turned over your tokens and you're deciding whether you're going to copy a neighbour's. That's pretty much it. The rest of the time you are whipping along just in your own little bubble, doing your thing that you're doing. And I still like it. I do enjoy the engine, the puzzle it presents you. I like this puzzle with the cards where you're having to kind of try and jigsaw puzzle them together to make the most sort of the best engine of what you've got in there. And it's one of those games where you kind of have to learn when to flip-flop, when to turn from resource generation into point generation. And it's building that deck build, slow kind of deck build of kind of rinsing your cards out with a rage if you can, seems to be a tactic, and then kind of getting the stuff back in so you kind of get that cycle of cards. And there's a point, the pivot point, where you go from generating lots of stuff and buying cards to you go to purely generating lots of stuff to convert into victory points. And missing that step when someone else flips that often that's it, it's game over. You'll see someone, if they get a good run of point generating cards, in the space of a literally round or two, they can go from 10, 15 points round all the way bang through to the 80 they need to hit. It can be that quick. So it's fast, it's lean, it gets through. Once you know what you're doing with it, it's easy to do, and you can sit there just churning away. The big danger is, as I say, people tend to be so focused on what they're doing that nearly always what happens is you kind of get these runaway points where you go, whoa, I need to generate the chip stuff. Bob, stop. But yeah, I like the components. The art is glorious. They're pretty good components, or wooden components that you get there. There's plentiful supply in there. I've not really had a situation where we've run out too much of them. Got tight a few times. And there's enough variety in that box, actually, with the different cards and these and all that. You could play it a lot and not see the same games playing out. And as of yet, I've not seen a clear run of victory. Definitely using the guerrillas to try and thin out that initial deck seems to be a good move. But it's that balance of where do you get the batteries in? Do you use the batteries, or do you just go for the victory points of the guerrillas, or when to use the chimps, because they're really quite powerful as well. So yeah, cool. That's it. I think if you run out of a couple of decks of cards, actually, they're taken off the display. That also ends the game. I've never had that happen. Yeah, so I think I would recommend it. It's a cautious recommendation because I think there is some people this just going to bounce off of. Anyone who isn't a big fan of that, I can't even say the word. Anyone's a big fan of everyone kind of just sat there doing their own thing in Sudoku fashion, then yeah, I can see where people would lose the way. All that simultaneous gameplay is all kind of almost real time stuff is going on. So there's none of that. So that is missing from it. But other than that, the actual puzzle of the bits in front of you and sitting doing that, it's quite a peaceful and tranquil but entertaining pastime. Just the problem is you don't really get to see what anyone else is doing because you're just so focused on what you're doing and getting that to work and doing the stuff. Then you kind of look out and then everyone's got a pile of stuff in front of them or whatever, or bounce 30 points ahead. There's no real catching what someone's doing, but maybe you should, because in the games it's just so fast with tearing through. When you look up and someone's suddenly gone ahead, you're like, shit, what are they doing? I'm not. So there's that. It's a little bit on the hefty side for what it is. It's about 35 quid. When I think I've seen Rezakana cheaper, there should be another view of Rezakana either out before this or after this. Then of the two games, that's the one I would definitely steer you towards. I think if this was to get an expansion that did something to add some interaction between the players, something like that, that might turn this from this is good to actually being, one of them rather than I don't know if we're going to get that. I don't know if there is plans for that, and I don't know how that would look or work. But something that maybe added a bit more player interaction between each of the different people would be kind of cool if they could come up with something like that. I think that would really kind of round this up, really tie the game together. But if you're a big fan of the post-apocalyptic monkey game type feel, then it's got the post-apocalyptic monkey vibes in there. I mean, it's there. The art is gorgeous. I can't deny that. The theme is there. And the art does a lot of holding up of that. But you're not that invested. But I enjoy the puzzle, the jigsaw puzzle, the cards, the sort of semi-small deck builder that you've got going on. And again, it's one of those games of very economy, like Rezakana, where you've got such a limited deck of cards and trying to make the best of that engine. It is somewhat random because you don't know what those cards you're getting are going to give you. And so you can never really plan to a certain extent to getting extra cards to allow you to go, well, if I get that, I know that's going to fit really nicely with that. It is a luck of the deal that if you get the cards that don't quite connect in your lineup, you're like, shit. There's ways of manipulating and mitigating that, should I say, in that some of the bonus tiles, there's one that allows you to spend batteries to draw new cards at the start. So there's ways around that. And they're a nice little touch. As a complete package, it works perfectly fine. It's good fun. As I said, the only thing I would say is it does feel a little bit like you're sat playing with yourself rather than anyone else at the table. Depends on your mileage in regards to playing with other people at the table or not. But if you're looking in the mood and for quick, down and dirty, easy, that sort of game, then yeah, it's good. However, I would caveat that with, much as I really enjoy this and I think it's really good fun and I like it, and it's a nice complement to Rezakana. Rezakana by far is the far more superior and more entertaining and more regular hitter to the table than this is. However, it's still pretty good. I think it would work better at any player counts. We've played, I think, at 3. I don't think I've played at 2. We've played 4 and 5 it goes up to, I think it is. And it's worked really well at all those counts. But again, you're kind of just doing your own thing. But that is After Us. That's Hatchet Ball Games from the designer I said earlier, with monkeys. This is apparently was a UK Games Expo exclusive cover that I've subsequently seen everywhere. They're not that exclusive. But there you go. That is After Us. I enjoy it. I think it's good. I like the theme. I love the art. Just maybe it's not the sum of its total parts. It's good, but it's middling of the road. And I think unless you're going to fall really in love with all the design choices and the mechanisms, which I really enjoy, I think you will bounce off that sort of the being no interaction. But yeah, it's good fun. I enjoy it. I just can't recommend it as heartily as I would Res Arcana. Thank you. This has been me. That's Mike B. This has been Who Dares Rolls. That has been another review, which is quite a startling turn of events. I think we can all agree. For the time being, look after yourselves and play some games, and I will see you soon, I am sure, whenever that time is. Until then, off ski, folks, ski.